जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दना ब्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना ब्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दन ब्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना ब्रज जनरञ्जना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी यशोदानन्दना ब्रज जनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना ब्रज जनरञ्जना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Prahalad Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Prahalad Narasimha Jaya Ananta Dev Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदश्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदश्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामकुंड राधा कुंड गिरिगोवर्धन की जय ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय द्वारका धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत गौरभक्त वृंद की जय गौरभक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to ISKCON Seshadripuram morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Give me a second, I'm just picking the verse on the screen. So today we will be discussing from the third canto, Status Quo, chapter 16. Which is entitled the two doorkeepers of Vaikunta, Jaya and Vijaya, cursed by the sages. In this chapter, we will be discussing verse number 16 and 17. Let me read the verse. Rushaya uchuhu na vayam bhagavan vidmas tava deva chikitsitam kruto me anugrahascheti yad adyakshaha prabhasase. Rushaya uchuhu na vayam bhagavan vidmas tava deva chikitsitam kruto me anugrahascheti yad adyakshaha prabhasase. Rishaya uchuhu na vayam bhagavan vidmas tava devam chikirsitam kruto me anugrahascheti yad adyakshaha prabhashase. Word by word meaning. Rishayaha, the sages, uchuhu, said, na, not, vayam, we, Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, vidmaha, did know, tava, your, deva, O Lord, chikisitam, wish for us to do, kritaha, has been done, me, unto me, anugraha, favor, cha, and, iti, thus, yet, which, adyakshaha, the supreme ruler, prabhasase, you say. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you. Purport: the sages could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above everyone, was speaking as if he were in the wrong. Therefore, it was difficult for them to understand the words of the Lord. They could understand, however, that the Lord was speaking in such a humble way just to show them His all merciful favor. We'll read now verse number 17. Brahmanasya param daivam brahmanah kila te prabho vipranam deva devanam bhagavan atma daivatam. Brahmanasya param daivam brahmanah kila te prabho vipranam deva devanam bhagavan atma daivatam. Brahmanasya param daivam brahmanaha kilate prabho vipranam deva devanam bhagavan atma daivatam. Word by word meaning. Brahmanasya, of the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture, param, the highest, daivam, position, brahmanaha, the brahmanas, kila, for the teaching of others, te, your, prabho, O Lord, vipranam, of the brahmanas, deva devanam, to be worshipped by the demigods, Bhagavan, the supreme personality of Godhead, Atma, the self, Daivatam, worshipable deity. Translation: O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture. You are considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. Purport: in the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. There are undoubtedly many demigods, the chiefs of whom are Brahma and Shiva. Lord Vishnu is the Lord of Brahma and Shiva, not to speak of the Brahmanas in this material world. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is very favorable towards all activities performed according to Brahmanical culture, or the qualities of control of the senses and mind, cleanliness, forbearance, faith in scriptures, and practical and theoretical knowledge. The Lord is the super soul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord is the source of all emanations. Thus, He is also the source of Brahma and Shiva. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Urminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsa Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Om Tat Sat Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Padayine Gaurakata Damadaya Nagaragrama Tarine. So Hare Krishna devotees, thanks for joining today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we will be discussing these two verses what we just now read, third chapter, 16th, third canto, 16th chapter, verse number 16 and 17. Just read the translation once more. The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you. Next verse. O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture. You are considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. So here, the background, we all know that, the Jaya Vijay, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha Loka, of the Supreme Personality's Sanctum Sanctorium. So they, while the four Kumaras were wandering, they came to Vaikuntha Loka, and they are trying to, they pass through many gates, and they were not stopped by anyone. They just keep walking. Nobody is actually obstructing them. But when they come to the Sanctum Sanctorium, or the main abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, at that point in time, the doorkeepers Jay and Vijay actually stopped the four Kumaras. And the four Kumaras immediately gets angry. And of course, they have a reason. Their logic was, this is Vaikuntha Loka, where there is no duality. There is no duality. That means there is the persons there do not look at anything in two perspective, like, how can someone be here, how can they be, because it is an absolute spiritual world where there everything is absolute. And therefore, if you are thinking, why did these four people come out here, they are not qualified, that's something which is very not in line with the people who live there according to the four Kumaras. And therefore they said, you people are having this duality, and therefore this is not the place therefore for you to be in, therefore you should go down to the material world. So this was their logic, and of why they actually found fault with these two gatekeepers, and therefore they cursed them that, you go down to the material world, you are not fit to be in the Vaikuntha Loka because you are having duality. You are seeing, good and bad. You are discriminating. Basically, you are actually discriminating. That you should not be doing in Vaikuntha Loka. So this was their logic, and therefore they actually cursed the two doorkeepers. Now at this point in time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maybe hearing the commotion, he understands everything, he comes out there. So when he comes out there, these four Kumaras are having darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are basically, in a way, they were impersonalists. But on seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they actually immediately, that's a transformation of heart, and then they become, they immediately, there's a lot of change which happens both in their body and the mind. And they are able to immediately recognize the supreme position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. And they are actually offering many prayers to the Lord. And in this chapter, on hearing these prayers, the Lord actually starts speaking. And in the process of speaking, the Lord actually makes a point that, these two servants of mine have actually offended you. And therefore, it is like I have offended you. So the Lord actually owns up for the mistake of his servants. So this is an amazing quality of even people in this material world. If someone owns up for the mistake of, that their dependents, for example, some son does something, then the father immediately owns up and apologizes, or an employee offends and then therefore the employer. These kind of things are never generally seen, even in ordinary mortals. But here the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually owning up. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is owning up, and then he is saying, it is my mistake that, that they behaved like this, and therefore I own up this responsibility. And then in the process, he is actually saying to these, the four Kumaras, that, but whatever you have done is correct. You are Brahmanas, your words are always good. There is nothing wrong with your words. But he is also anxious for the doorkeepers. He is like, he says, Krishna is so much caring for his devotees that he is so much takes anxious, even though it's supposed to be Vaikuntha where there's no anxious. But here actually the Supreme Lord is anxious. For what? He's so anxious for his devotees that, they are actually cursed, that, they are going to be undergoing some difficulties. So this is something which is a deep learning. We can learn so many depthful matters into this one, but we will see that a little later. But the point is, the Lord has got so much of love for his devotees, and therefore he is actually worried that this kind of a curse is going to separate them from me, and therefore he is asking them in this thing, if you can please ensure that this thing happens quickly. He's pleading in a way. He's actually putting it that way, that let it happen, whatever you have given the curse, but can you please ensure that they come back quickly. So this is the Lord's prayers to the four Kumaras. So this is amazing. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, they have already glorified the Lord as whatever the highest of all highest, but still the Lord is saying this. The Lord is saying how much I love all of you. He says you are the Brahmanas, and he says just because I take the lotus dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, I have become so pure that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is actually sitting and trying to serve me. See, everybody in this entire universe is actually trying to get the glance of Lakshmi Devi, so that their material opulences, everything can be taken care. That Subiksha, everything can be taken care. But that Lakshmi Devi is sitting at his lotus feet. Why? Because he's saying, apparently the Lord is saying, because I have taken the dust of the Brahmanas, from the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, I have become so powerful that I have I have got the capacity to even attract the Lakshmi. That kind of a way he is putting it across. But that is not true, which the Brahmanas will be trying to reason out with the Supreme Lord later. But that is the mood of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in these two verses, you are also seeing how the Lord is giving so much importance to the Brahmanical personalities, and also the humility that the Lord is trying to show here. Uh, and there are a few more lessons which we can see in these two verses. So now here, so when the Lord is saying like this, they are slightly confused. What is this? The Supreme Personality of Godhead is trying to talk to us as though we have actually offended the Lord, that we have actually given a curse to his most confidential servants. Um, and here he is profusely apologizing, and he is asking, saying that we have done him a favor. So they are slightly, in a way, they were bewildered, they are a little confused, they don't know how to react to this situation. So that is what has been mentioned here. We are unable to know what you intend to do to us, what you intend us to do. So they are not saying what does the Lord want us to do, like that way they are thinking. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we have done something good for you. So now here, uh, the uh, the position of the Lord in relation to his devotees is something which we need to understand. One thing is, the Lord has so much of depth of love for his devotees that he actually reveals himself to only the pure devotees of the Lord. Like, there are so many people who are actually trying to understand the Supreme Lord. And there are so many jnanis, so many yogis, so many are trying so very hard. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually trying to but he covers himself from everybody. He's actually very, very secretive. It's not easy to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Lord is always revealed to the pure devotees of the Lord. That is something which we need to understand. And he has got so much of love for them, and he will go to any length to actually protect them, to relate to them, to please them. There are so many things like that. For example, there was this pastime where the Lord actually, during that um, in the what do you call, the Ras Leela dance, the Lord actually will I don't want to go into the background of that thing, but the Lord will actually try to uh, disappear from all the gopis. So he will disappear, and the gopis will all be going, running around, searching for him. And at some point in time, he will get into one corner where he can't go any further, and then the gopis are all coming very fast. So the Lord actually takes the form of Vishnu there with four-handed form, and he's standing there, and then all the gopis there come and ask him, where is, did you see Krishna coming here? He'll say, no, I didn't see. They will pay obeisances. They will understand this is Vishnu, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They pay obeisances, but they are more interested in finding where Krishna is. So they ask him, and he says he went this way, like that he says. But when Radharani, when she comes there, the Lord is not able to hold his what do you call, his secrecy. Like, the two hands melt away. That, the other four, out of the four hands, the two hands melt away, and then his position as Krishna is immediately revealed to Radharani. That shows the Lord is so much in love with his pure devotees that he is openly revealing himself to the such persons. But so many other people, how much ever they try, they will not be revealed. So that's the great intimacy between the Lord and the Supreme the Lord and the devotees of the Lord. Um, so this is the context which we need to understand. And here, for such wonderful devotees of the Lord, he is actually taking up that responsibility and apologizing. Just imagine, if you are, how much of, if even we as mortals, if I am having taking up a responsibility of some service within the whatever congregation, and then I have a team of people. When someone else makes a mistake under my team, and it becomes a grave mistake, and many people actually try to like, point this out, this blemish happened in the service, our mood immediately is, my ego is there, like, I am so and so, how come that, this could have happened, that, it is coming under my name. I immediately try to find some kind of an escape route, right? I try to give so many, I blame the situation, I blame so many things why it could not happen. And worst case, I even blame the persons under me who have done this, right? This devotee, this Prabhu, he is very incompetent. I told him 100 times, but he's actually like this. What can I do? I even called him 10 minutes before and told him, but he's done like this. We completely expose these other persons under our this one. But then here the Lord is the highest of all. You cannot comprehend his position. But here he is saying, and these two, and apparently these are four children. Like, they are rishi, they are addressed as rishis. But optically, when you see there are four children standing in front of you, right? They are great rishis, all that is fine. But when you see optically, there are simply 4 or 5-year-old boys standing there, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead coming and falling at their, not physically touching their leg or anything like that, but he's actually bowing down to them to say, I am sorry, this should not have happened, this has happened, and I take responsibility for it. So that is something which we need to learn, how we actually deal in our relationship with so many of the jivas that we are surrounded by. We can see this, we invariably have these kind of challenges, between husband and wife, within father and son. But the fact is, when you are in love with someone, means it's not love, means it's not this lusty love I'm talking about. Generally, when you say love is when you really care for someone. The definition of that love is basically there is no controlling nature. There is no mood to control. Like, so that is not love. If we try to control, that is not love. But a love is that, we, like, for example, between a son and a father, and there is no control, there is no envy, that is actually love. Like, for example, between a son and a father is invariably superior in so many ways. Of course, there are many sons who are superior to father in their qualities and all that. But even, let's say, in the initial stages also, father is much more superior to the son. But then the father, when the son does some mistakes, or if the son gets angry at something, if you see, the father will not be in a mood to, in a controlling mood, but he will say, yeah, that's okay, I understand, what you did is not wrong, it is, that kind of a mood a father takes. He is not envious that, I'm now the boss here, and that mood is never there for the father. But the father is more looking at the son with a lot of love and affection, and he is actually coming down so many steps from his original position, and then he is behaving like that. And that kind of a mood has to be there even for us as devotees who are dealing with so many living entities, particularly, at least in devotee community, if we can have such a mood that, I am nobody, I am simply a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am here to serve everybody, and I do not look at things in a mood to control, but I am here to cooperate with everyone and then facilitate, so that the service for the Supreme Personality of Godhead happens very nicely. So this is one aspect of the Lord's feature that we are seeing here. The other thing is here, if you see the Lord, when he speaks, it is not something that it's so easy to understand. For example, let's say you know English. Just because you know good English, that doesn't mean you can understand medicine, because that medicine or the study of the body, like the medical science. Just because you know English, that doesn't mean you know the science of medicine, because that book is also written in English. Like, it doesn't happen like that. Similarly, if you know, for example, Sanskrit, that doesn't mean you are able to understand what is written in Srimad Bhagavatam or Srimad Bhagavad Gita, or for that matter, any scriptures. And there is a nice verse which says, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gataha sa pantaha. That is there in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is in Madhya Lila 25.57. And this is basically a verse which is coming in Mahabharat and spoken by Yudhishthira Maharaj. And it is in the Vana Parva 313.117. Now, if you see this, the point is, when the Lord is speaking, it is not that we can simply understand it so easily. We need to understand it. For us to understand, there is a lot of difficulty. The point is, this verse which says, the solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. So now, this is why am I talking this here is, like, when the Lord says something, how do we understand that? That is something which is not like you can't simply go by, like for example, here the Lord is saying, you are all the greatest personality. I am just a simple, I am taking the dust of your lotus feet. When he's saying something like that, do we take it in face value? Maybe we should, maybe we should not. We do not even know how to read all these things. Here the four Kumaras themselves are bewildered how to understand this and how are we to understand these things. Therefore, what is the message for us here is that we need to understand it in the context of this verse which I said. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gataha sa pantaha. So there is this example. There was once someone came and asked Srila Prabhupada, what is the meaning of this verse? So they pointed, and Prabhupada actually gave the meaning of that verse. But the person said, actually, no, Prabhupada, actually, I want the literal translation of the verse like that. Prabhupada actually was explaining the verse, the purport of that, including the word meanings. But the person said, no, I want the exact meaning, what is exactly translated from Sanskrit to English, exact meaning like that. Then Prabhupada said, then you should have approached a Sanskrit teacher, not come to me like that. So the point here is, it is not that we just read a particular word and try to understand from that. We need to understand the depth of what is being mentioned there. And particularly when it comes to spiritual knowledge, it is not understood by our mere mental speculation. It is understood by the way the Acharyas have understood it from the Mahajanas. So it's like, that is very important. It's not like, we take, so many times if you read Srila Prabhupada's translation, it may not be the exact translation what it is there in Sanskrit from a grammatical perspective. It is a very simple thing. Any scholar can simply write a book on Bhagavad Gita, but it is of no value. And many have actually written, but it is of no significance. Nobody got any bhakti, right? We have seen this. Therefore, we have to take it from the mouth of the great pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who are actually coming, learning it from the Mahajanas. So that is very, very important. There is this, for example, let's look at one simple thing on this. For example, there is this, we all know there is this pastime of the Lord, when the Lord actually went to Swargaloka, where the abode of Indra, and he had recovered some great jewel of his mother, which was stolen by one of the demons, and this Indra didn't have the guts to fight him, so he left it like that. But the Lord somehow, or some other reason, when he was fighting with this demon, he gets hold of this jewel, and then he therefore goes to go and give it to Indra. At that time, he is actually taking Rukmini also along with him. Satyabhama, he is taking Satyabhama with him. Now, when they are there, he goes and gives this jewel, and Indra should be very grateful that, what he couldn't do himself, what he was afraid to do himself, here the Lord has come and given it and restored his his ego and he's restored his mother's, the opulence or whatever. But still, while going back, the Lord actually, Satyabhama, actually decided for one Parijata flower. So the Lord said, okay, here is a Parijata tree, and he picked up that Parijata tree and he was going. But the Indra didn't have the basic courtesy that, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the owner of everything. But here Indra is thinking, I am me. And why did he do that? Because I think his wife, Suchi, I think her name is Sachi Devi. Her name is this. So she was saying, see here, Krishna is just taking away these things and going. And what do you call, instigated by her word, he immediately started to have a big fight with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, here Sukadeva Goswami is making one big question. He is asking, in this, who is the henpecked person? So, is it Krishna or is it Indra? So, now if you have to ask this question to someone who has no iota of spiritual understanding, what will be his answer? If you are just seeing here is Krishna just going, and then while coming back he is just uprooting, going to someone's house. He is a guest there. While coming back, he is uprooting a tree, and he's just walking away with that tree. If you are to see it like that, one who has not got any spiritual background, he will say, and he of course went there and he took it because his wife asked for this thing, and he said, so their logic would be, Krishna is the henpecked person. That means one who is basically listening to the wife's words, right? This is the way he will understand it. So he will say Krishna is the henpecked person. But if you are to ask another person who is little read, who understands the greatness of Krishna, but not at the highest level, but he understands he has a great personality and all of that, then he will say, actually both are henpecked. That means this Krishna is henpecked and also the Indra is henpecked. So why? Because their logic is, both of them are listening to their wives and then acting here, right? It's not only Krishna who is just plugged it and then because his wife asked, he's simply stealing and going away like that. But this Indra also, it's a small thing, a tree, someone who has worked hard to fight with the demon, his enemy, retrieved the jewel and given it to given it back to him. And therefore, why would you take an offense to such a small tree being taken away from here? You should have yourself been very magnanimous to give it. But why did he behave like that? Because he is also henpecked. That, his ego, he's instigated by his wife, is acting like that. So both they will say. But here, Sukadeva Goswami said, it's actually Indra who is henpecked and not Krishna. Now, this is the understanding that we can, if you are reading simply a situation, if you are reading a Sanskrit, you may conclude based on your own assumptions. But what we need to understand here is the purport of the Mahajanas. That's very important. Now, here he concludes saying, it is just Indra who is henpecked and not Krishna, because Krishna's act of taking that tree is not out of his henpecked, if I have to use that word, because he is so much attracted to his wife, but he is attracted to anyone who is actually in pure devotion to him. So therefore it takes out this position of wife. It brings out the position of the pure devotee of the Lord. If you see Rukmini, she is one of the, in complete mood of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are many cases. It's not like, for example, in the case of Lord Rama, the squirrel, which did some little service out of love and affection to Rama, he did it, and then the Lord chastised Hanuman, who is his topmost service provider, in that situation, who has jumped all the way, took so much risks, identified Mother Sita that she is there, and then he has come back, and then the Lord, he has given him such big relief, and how grateful externally that the Lord will feel towards Hanuman. But here he is telling him, no, that does not matter. This squirrel is also doing a lot of service according to his ability, and therefore I love him equally as much as I love you. So this is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore one cannot conclude that he did it in his position as a husband, but he did it in his position as the Lord who is in love with all the entities, and particularly those who are in deep loving relationship with him in terms of serving him. So these are something which is very, very important. How do you understand the purport of what is being mentioned in this in the scriptures, particularly those that have been spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So, and there is one other aspect also. There is this situation called, in Krishna book, Prabhupada writes, there are three types of personalities. One is Bubukshu, one is Mubukshu, and the third one is Jivan Muktas. So the Bubukshu, he is a person who's more interested in sense gratification. And then there is this Mumukshu who's basically interested in Mukti, that means liberation. Bhoga, the first one is like Bhoga, that means he is more interested in gratification, enjoyment, while the second one is interested in the liberation, and the third one is Jivan Muktaha. So this, the Jivan Muktas are like this, if you see a coconut, there are some coconut which are like sort of from inside, they would have actually detached from the shell. They sell copra, I don't know what they say in English. They say copra in, I think, Kannada and other languages. So that means it is detached from the shell, like that a person who's actually in this material situation, but is detached from that material situation. Just like the body is the external material situation, but the soul which is inside, if it is detached from the body, like that the copra is detached from the shell inside. So like that the Jivan Muktas are like that. Our idea is to understand the scriptures through this Jivan Muktas, and this Bhagavatam is meant for all of them. So everybody takes something from them. Like, the Prabhupada says, right, it is this Bhagavatam study is not only for pure devotees, it is, while primarily it is there for the pure devotees to relish and all that, but it is also there for everyone to take something out of it. But then, what portion, how do we get it? We can get something. There is no doubt. But what is the best thing to get is actually trying to listen from the pure devotees, trying to understand from their perspective what is what. So the access is given by Krishna when we read it. It is not that we ourselves are able to get the knowledge. The access is given by Krishna. And that access does not come automatically by knowing the language or by able to read or with our mental speculation. That access is actually given by Krishna through his pure devotees. So this is very important. Now what's time now? 8:54. So now let's also look at the second verse. The second verse, there are a few lessons that we can learn. Verse number 17. Here the four Kumaras are saying, "O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture. You are considering the Brahmanas to be the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity." So there are 3 points here. I will cover at a very high level here given the shortage of time. So the point here is the Brahmanas are considered very, very, very important even by the Supreme Personality. That elaboration would have happened in the previous verses where the Lord is saying, I am taking the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas. So I am not going much there. But the point is, we have to understand the Brahmanical culture is the most important thing. For example, the cows and the Brahmanas, right? The Go Brahmanya Hitayecha. This is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So much of importance is given by him for the protection of the cows and Brahmanas. If these two are there, then the entire civilization can all go back to Godhead. The cow actually, sometimes we don't even realize, we think the cow is an animal. But the cow is not an animal. It is a special entity created for human beings. It's not like any other animal. The idea of this cow, the creation of the cow, is that the human being can actually sustain his life in this material world and they can perfect and then go back to Godhead. Therefore, the cow is actually the surabhi, like, it can actually give all that a human being requires for survival in this material world. And it is not for simply gratification. The point of coming here is to actually realize what is our original nature, and then attain that objective. That is the purpose. And if you are having that as the objective, this cow is the one which can actually provide everything. There is nothing that the cow will not be able to provide us. So this is the and for example, if you are saying, no, I am not eating the cow, where will I eat? Okay, how long can I drink milk? You can ask this, or someone can ask this. So milk alone, how can I drink? Prabhupada said, if you sustain with the milk itself, you can sustain, but let's not go too much there. But I still need, let's say, I still need some rice, I need so many things. But even that, to get it, the cows, the cow dung is the one which actually fertilizes the land from which the grains come. So it's you don't need anything else if you simply have the cow dung that basically fertilizes the land, because the land should have life. Only if there is life, then the plants can come. Otherwise, it's like a desert, there is nothing in it. So there is some percentage of life has to be there in the land, and that life is actually sustained by the cow dung on the thing. So there's so many things like this. A cow can give so many benefits to the human being. And like now, the other aspect is the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas, if they are there, then the entire world can go in a very orderly manner. They are the head. We know that in the Vishwarupa, the Brahmanas are considered to be the head of that entire Rupa. That means without head, where is the direction? You can have strong arms, you can have very powerful legs, you can have nice tummy, everything. But without the head, there is no use to the entire body. So the head is very important, and the Lord is very, very mindful of this. See, the purpose of coming here is to actually reform ourselves, and for that reformation, the Brahmana is the guide. And if the Brahmana is not there, then the entire purpose of this creation is lost, because there is no kind of reformation. You will keep going down further into the illusion. But a Brahmana is one who's actually give us that vision of, or understand the objective of this life. He is able to pull us from our rotten situation, and then he is able to give us Brahma Jnana, and slowly we start reviving our consciousness, and then we go back to Godhead. So therefore, if the Brahmana is not there, what is the point? Therefore, the Lord is stressing on this point of Brahmana, and he is going to any length to make the Brahmanas happy. And he says the Brahmana are non-different from me. That's also he's saying. If the Brahmana eats, if you offer oblations in the sacrificial fire, that is also my mouth. But I am more pleased when I see the ghee flowing out of the Brahmana's mouth. He is happy having that prasada. Then I am more satisfied. That means he is the offering received through the mouth of the Brahmana is more satisfying than to me than offering the oblations. That is the level of importance he is giving. And he is saying, therefore, he is doing all these things to highlight the position of Brahmanas. If the Supreme Lord is worshipping the Brahmanas, then why not anybody else? It is mentioned, right? Whatever the leaders do, then the followers follow. That is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, the leader should set an example. And here the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is setting this example that the Brahmana should be respected. And the last one is, who is the worshipable deity? That's the most important thing. There are, here it is mentioned very clearly, the definition is given that if you are a Brahmana, then Krishna is the worshipable deity. That's very clearly. That means every Brahmana has to be a Vaishnava, otherwise he is not a Brahmana. So that's very important. Brahmana means not simply either a thread Brahmana or someone who understands some spiritual aspects, who is chanting many verses, but if he is not worshipping Lord Vishnu, then he is not a Brahmana. That's very clearly given here, that a Brahmana means if for Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, if you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what about the Brahmanas? The Brahmanas are also to be having Lord Vishnu as the worshipable deities. So now if you are looking to see how are people all over the world are so completely confused. If they say, many people say Brahma is the Supreme Lord, many people say Lord Shiva is the Supreme Lord, and some people say Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Lord. Even there, beyond Vishnu there is the Krishna, that we will come to. So Vishnu is the Supreme Lord, and there are many. There are others who say there are 5 aspects of God, like they say Shiva, Vishnu, then there is Ganapati, then there is Shakti, like this. There is one more, I think, Surya. So these are the 5 forms of worships that is generally is there in the scriptures also, in some kind. So some people worship like that. Some are more focused on the internal potency or the feminine aspect of the Lord and Devi. They worship the Devi and they say this is the supreme personality, and there is also some Bhagavatam called Devi Bhagavatam, and then there is many aspects of literally uh, the supreme is considered as this feminine potency of the supreme Lord is actually considered the supreme Lord, like that. Then there is also this people who consider everything is God. There are some who consider nothing is God, right? Nothing is God. There are some who consider everything is God, and then there are some who considers uh, the Lord or the God as some higher power. That's it, like some higher power. And there are some who are actually considering some ordinary mortals as God. That is another category. So with all of these things are there, again people are completely confused. In this forum I don't need to really elaborate, um, but the point is, one, we need to understand again from the authorities. That's more important here. If you see the Lord Shiva, whom majority lot of people consider as the supreme Lord, he is himself saying to Parvati, he is saying Aradhanam Sarveshu Vishnur Aradhanam Param. And in the same thing he says Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiye Sama Archana. That means Samarchana. That means he is saying of all the worship of the worship of Lord Vishnu is greater. And in the same thing he is saying even important than that is worship of his devotees. So here Krishna is also saying, I am worshipping his devotees. But that point has to be understood in the sense that, for us to understand Krishna, we need to worship the devotee of the Lord. So for us, we worship Srila Prabhupada, the Guru Parampara, the 6 Goswamis, like this. And through them, we are able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not independently, we can worship directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are so many important messages in all these particular 2 verses that we heard today. So I will stop here. If there are any comments, any questions, welcome. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Dandot Pranam.
Dandot Pranam.
Small question. We can understand, like, Go Brahmanya, like, but cows are getting slaughtered. Okay. Now, it's like we can understand why, the Brahmanas, suppose, because Brahmanas are getting corrupted nowadays, and they are not getting, the whole Brahminical culture is not getting protected because it got corrupted, and that's why now. But cows, they are innocent animals. Why at least they should not get protected by Lord indirectly, because they are mercilessly. That's what. So because they don't have that consciousness of discrimination, they don't discretion. They don't have. At least they should get protected. Human being we can understand because he has got discretion, and he has choice or freedom to take a proper decision, and if they are not following the Vedic culture, they will get problem. That I can understand. But animals should get protected at least by the superior energy of Lord. So that's what I get confused little bit.
Yes. Okay. So now how do we understand this? So now the question is, the Lord is actually protecting, and the authority to protect is with, again, the human beings. That means, or if I take it further, it is to do with the devotees of the Lord. Because, if you see in Kali Yuga, see, in the earlier thing, if you see the Parikshit Maharaj, when he saw that the cow is being killed in that yuga, he immediately, directly, personally went and started chastising the Kali Purusha. Like, how can you attack it like that? This was the position. like that. That means we are the empowered personalities to protect it. That means we are acting as a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the protection is given. It is just a question of we are actually misusing our trust or our authority. Like, this is that is the problem in material world, right? We are supposed to take care, and He is empowered us to take care of the cows. But when we say, I am saying in a broad category of human beings, because He has given it for the human beings. The cows are not generally for lion or thing, it's not in a forest, right? For the lion to eat it or control it. It is there in amongst the cows, at least particularly of all animals. Cows are actually in the human society. Very rarely you will see a wild animal attacking a cow, because they are not in the forest, they are here. And therefore we are supposed to protect these cows, and this is our dharma. But unfortunately, we are transgressing that rule. So we means again broader classification of human beings. They are amongst the human beings, and it is the natural responsibility of the human beings to protect. But we are transgressing, and therefore it becomes a problem, right? So the Lord has made the arrangement, but that arrangement is not being cooperated by the jivas, and therefore it's more important responsibilities of the, at least those who are able to understand that, like devotees or those who are having some dharmic thing. It is for them to actually act and create awareness and protect the cow. So if you see in ISKCON, there are many efforts being made for different goshalas. Not only ISKCON, many dharmic organizations are trying to protect, create awareness for the cows. And even not just about protecting the cows, but also explaining the benefits of the things that are there for the which are derived from protecting the cows. So that is there, but it is all a very in a stressful situation. But it is the responsibility of the human beings, or particularly the devotees or the dharmic people, to actually take care. And if you see now, things are happening. There are people getting awareness. People are mindful at a state level also. People are mindful. The laws have been enacted that we should not like slaughter cows. These are happening. If you see many years back, these were not even thought of, but now these are being questioned. These have been enacted as a law also. So there's hope, and we can do our bit in whatever way we can.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Because if you are looking for directly the Lord to just simply immediately come with the Sudarshana Chakra, right, that way then, everything can be set right, if he comes
Yeah.
like that. But in Kali Yuga, specifically, he is only coming as Channa Avatar. That means he is coming through the, not as a direct incarnation. Means physically he is not appearing, he is appearing through his sound vibration, through the Bhagavatam, like that. And therefore, naturally, the more Krishna consciousness is spreading, the cows will be protected. It is very natural, right? So our job is to protect cows, protect this dharma. That means spread this dharma. Then everything will become thing. And Krishna, Prabhupada says, right? Why did the acharyas didn't do it earlier? They could have done everything and gone, but he says he left some for us to do. So like that, it is our responsibility to carry out these orders. Even though the Lord can simply come and show his Sudarshana Chakra from the universe, all the presidents of the world will see it, and then you don't kill the cow if he says that, that's done. But it is not done like that.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thanks
Okay.
for
Hare
this
Krishna.
thought-provoking question. Hare Krishna. Okay, we are a little over the time, and thank you for taking time out in spite of the busy schedule, Sanatan Govind Prabhu and Hitesh Madhav Prabhu. Thanks for joining. If any devotees on the YouTube also, thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare. Hare.
Welcome to
Yes, Prabhupada ki jai.
Shanta Govind Prabhu. Hare Krishna.